All right, welcome back. Today we're diving into the fifth love language, physical touch. Now the author calls this the plain language of love, and for good reason. It totally bypasses words. It's a language that's felt, not spoken. And for some people, understanding this one language can be the most critical piece of their entire relationship.
I mean, let's just start with this quote right from the source. It really doesn't get much clearer, does it? For some people, a simple touch can communicate love, or its opposite, hate, way more loudly than any words ever could. The stakes are just incredibly high here.
So, what are we really talking about when we say physical touch? Does it just mean one thing? Is it all about intimacy in the bedroom? Or is there something way deeper, something more fundamental going on? Let's break it all down.
To really get it, first we have to understand how this language actually works and why it's so incredibly powerful. You see, it's a form of communication we've been using since the very beginning of our lives.
Think about it for a second. We've known forever that physical contact is just a core part of being human, of connecting with each other. It's one of the very first ways we experience love and security as babies, and guess what? That need for connection through touch doesn't just vanish when we grow up.
So here's the official definition from the book. For someone whose main love language is physical touch, things like holding hands or a simple hug aren't just nice little gestures. Nope. They are the primary way their emotional love tank gets filled. Without them, they can feel deeply and truly unloved no matter what else you say or do.
Now, it is so easy to hear physical touch and have your mind immediately jump to one thing. But honestly, that's a huge misconception, and it's one that causes a ton of problems in relationships. So let's clear that up right now.
The source material makes it super clear that our need for touch is literally baked into our biology. I mean, research shows that babies who get held and hugged and kissed actually thrive emotionally. This isn't just a preference we're talking about, it's a foundational human need. That early wiring for security through touch doesn't just go away. For a lot of adults, it becomes the main way they feel truly loved and connected.
So here we get to bust the biggest myth of all. Physical touch is this rich, complex language with tons of different dialects. Sexual intercourse, that's just one dialect. Those small, everyday touches, hand on the back, holding hands while walking, those can be just as important, sometimes even more important, for keeping a person's love tank full.
And to see just how critical this all is, the source gives us this brilliant case study. Let's dig into the story of Pete and Patsy, a couple who had to learn about mismatched love languages the hard way. So, by all outside accounts, Pete and Patsy had it all figured out. They came from similar backgrounds, had this amazing dating relationship, and everyone around them thought their marriage was practically made in heaven. On the surface, everything looked absolutely perfect. But pretty soon after the wedding, things started to shift. Pete began working longer and longer hours, and then he'd spend his evenings just glued to his computer. And for Patsy, she started to feel completely ignored, totally shut out. That connection they used to have was just fading away. Fast.
Patsy's pain eventually just boiled over into this one accusation. You can feel the hurt in that, can't you? For her, that computer became this symbol of his withdrawal and of her own loneliness. She felt like she'd been replaced.
But here's the twist. Pete wasn't pulling away because he didn't care about her. He was pulling away because his own deep emotional need was going completely unmet. And this wasn't just a request for sex, it was a desperate plea for the one thing that truly made him feel loved.
And boom, this just brilliantly illustrates the whole issue, doesn't it? Pete's love tank was running on empty because he needed that physical connection. At the same time, Patsy's love tank was also totally empty, but for a different reason. She needed focused, undivided attention, which is quality time. They were both absolutely starving for love, but they couldn't see it because they were speaking completely different languages.
So here's the crucial point. Pete saw the lack of physical intimacy as a deep personal rejection of him. Meanwhile, Patsy saw his focus on work and the computer as a clear sign that she just didn't matter to him anymore. Both of them were hurting, and both of them were totally wrong about what the other person was feeling.
Okay, so the good news is this story has a happy ending. Pete and Patsy actually figured it out, and their breakthrough really shows us that it's absolutely possible to learn a new love language. So how can we apply their lesson? Let's look at some practical steps for learning to speak touch fluently, even if it's not your native tongue.
The author breaks it down into these two dialects. First, you have implicit touches. These are the small, connecting moments that happen throughout the day. They don't take a lot of time, but they basically shout, "Hey, I'm thinking of you." Then you have explicit touches.
These are more focused and they demand your full attention. Both are vital, but people often forget just how powerful those small implicit touches can be.
So how do you actually put this into practice? Well, it kind of breaks down into 3 simple steps. First, you've got to discover their specific dialect. You can do that by just observing what they respond to, or you could just ask them what they like. Don't assume you know. Second, master the implicit touches. Make a conscious effort to sprinkle those little connecting touches throughout the day. And third, you have to plan for the explicit touches. Make intentional time for them. It has to be a deliberate choice.
Okay, now let's talk about where this language becomes the most powerful, the most essential form of communication you could ever offer someone.
When life gets really hard, a death in the family, losing a job, a health scare, words just often feel totally inadequate. We just don't know what to say. And in those moments, our instincts kind of take over, right? We reach out, we hold someone, we hug them. Because in a crisis, touch communicates love and support in a way that words simply can't.
This quote from the source really says it all. For a person whose primary language is touch, your physical presence during their absolute darkest moments, it isn't just helpful, it's everything. Your words might not be remembered, but your touch, your presence, that will be.
And this is the ultimate takeaway right here. Choosing to be physically present, to offer a tender touch when your partner is hurting, that is one of the most profound expressions of love you can possibly give. And that one act of love can echo for years and years, becoming a cornerstone of their security in your relationship.
And that leaves us with one last question to really think about. In your own life, is this simple, plain language of love being expressed clearly, or is its powerful message maybe getting lost in translation?